Canto 4. Summary. Our pilgrim awakes to find himself on the other side of the Acheron, on the very edge of the dark abyss. As they descend, Dante asks about the harrowing of hell when Christ led forth a train of captives out of Sheol, the common place of the dead, and into paradise. Thus all the saints of the Old Testament were taken up to dwell with Jesus in the presence of God, where we will find them at the end of Paradiso. Virgil leads Dante down into the first circle of hell, where the inhabitants, living in a pale twilight, do not wail or scream, but simply sigh for their fate of hopeless desire. These are the so-called virtuous pagans, placed here for no specific sin, but rather for not being baptized into the Christian faith. If they lived before Christ and the possibility of baptism, they did not worship God rightly. These are the decent unbelievers, who have done nothing grievously wicked, but pursued virtue as far as their human understanding allowed. First, Dante meets the poets Homer, Horace, Ovid, and Lucan. He is invited to join that company, along with Virgil, making the sixth. Together, the company of poets walk through the noble castle, where all the souls of the virtuous pagans dwell. They live in twilit halls, surrounded by greenery and streams. It is stately, but sad. The list of inhabitants is a veritable who's who of ancient literature and history. Philosophers, emperors, politicians, physicians, astronomers, warriors, kings, and princesses. Dante exults in being given the opportunity to see so many famous people. As they come to the end of the path, the four other poets stay back, and Virgil leads Dante on out of the crepuscular light and into the darkness once more. Canto 4. Virtuous Pagans. A heavy thunderclap broke the deep sleep that had filled my head, such that I jumped up like a person who is woken by force. With my eyes refreshed, I moved them around and, standing straight up, I stared fixedly in order to know the place where I was. Indeed, I found myself upon the edge of the painful valley of the abyss, embraced all around by infinite woes. It was dark and deep and shrouded over such that, straining my eyes toward the bottom, I did not distinguish anything there. Now let us descend here to the blind world, the poet said to me, having turned pale. I will go first, and you come thereafter. I noticed his color changing and said, How can I do this if you are afraid, who have always been my comfort in doubt? And he said, The anguish of these people who are here below paints my countenance with pity, which you apprehend as fear. Let us go, the long road urges us on. Thus he went, and thus he made me enter that first circle that runs round the abyss. And here the only sound that could be heard was not the sound of weeping, but of sighs, which made that eternal air to tremble. These came forth from a pain without torture, pain borne by a crowd, a grand multitude composed of infants, of women and men. My good master to me, you do not ask what spirits these are that you now behold. I want you to know before you go far, these did not sin, and even have merit, though not enough, for they were not baptized, which is the door into the faith you hold. And if they lived before the Christian faith, they did not honor God as was his due. I am one of these. For this fault alone, and not for other sins, we are deprived, and sigh not from pain, but from knowing this. We live in desire, and yet without hope. Great sorrow gripped my heart when I heard this, for I knew that people of greatest worth were suspended in limbo forever. Tell me, my master, tell me, Lord, I said, for I desire to be fully convinced of that one faith that conquers every doubt. Has anyone ever left, either by his or another's worth, that then was blessed? He understood my covert speech and said, I was newly come to this condition when I saw a mighty one descending, crowned with the token of his victory. He led forth the shade of our first father, of Abel his son, and that of Noah, of Moses the lawgiver who obeyed, of Father Abraham and David king, of Israel with his father and sons, and with Rachel for whom he worked so hard, and of many others and made them blessed. and I want you to be sure before these no human spirits had ever been saved. We did not stop moving because he spoke, but were, however, walking through a wood, of densely packed spirits. We were not far from where I fell asleep, when I saw a bright flame in the distance that quenched the darkness of that hemisphere. Yet we were still a little ways away, but not so far I could not tell that place boasted of an honor-loving people. O you who honor both knowledge and art, tell who these are that have so much honor, it sets them off from the way of others. He said to me, the honor of their name, which is still sounded in your life above, obtains grace in heaven that sets them here. Meanwhile I heard another voice which said, give honor to him, the poet most high, his shade now returns that had departed. After the voice was still and quieted, I saw 4 stately shades coming toward us. Their faces were neither happy nor sad. My good master began to speak of them. Look there, at him who comes before the 3 with sword in hand, indeed, as if a king. That one is Homer, the sovereign poet. Behind him comes Horace, the satirist. The 3rd is Ovid, Lucan last of all. Because they each join together with me in the name that the solo voice just sang, they do me honor. In this they do well. Thus I saw gather the beautiful school of that Lord of the highest of all songs, that above the rest like an eagle soars. After they reasoned together somewhat, they turned toward me with a sign of welcome, at which my master smiled. And furthermore, those masters did me still greater honor, for truly they made me one of their troop, so that I made 6 among such good sense. In this way we walked on until the light, speaking things about which silence is sweet as speaking them there where I was. We reached the foot of a noble castle, encircled 7 times by a high wall, defended by a lovely rivulet. This we passed over as on solid ground. Thence through the 7 gates with these sages, we arrived at a lawn of fresh verdure. A people were there with eyes slow and grave, with great authority in their faces. They rarely spoke, though their voices were sweet. We drew off all together to one side, an open place quite luminous and high, from which I was able to see them all. Across from us, above the glossy green, the great spirits were there revealed to me. I exult in myself having seen them. I saw Electra with a great party, among which I saw Hector, Aeneas, Caesar armed with griffin-like eyes. I saw Camilla and that Penthesilea. On the other side was King Latinus sitting with Lavinia his daughter. I saw Brutus who banished the Tarquins, Lucretia, Julia, Cornelia, Marcia, and off by himself Saladin. I raised my eyes a little more and saw, sitting down, the master of all that know, amidst a philosophic family. They all gazed at him and do him honor. There I saw both Socrates and Plato, standing near to him in front of the rest. Democritus, who gives the world to chance, Diogenes and Anaxagoras, Thales, Empedocles, Heraclitus, and Zeno. I saw the good harvester of the qualities, Dioscorides, and I saw Orpheus and Cicero, Linus and Seneca the moralist, Euclid the geometer, Ptolemy, Hippocrates, Avicenna, Galen, and he who wrote the great commentary, Averroes. I cannot sketch all in full, for my long theme so presses me on that, often, the telling falls short of the facts. That company of 6 dropped down to 2. My wise leader led me another way, out of the quiet into trembling air. I came to dark regions where nothing shines.